so many people blame this on aging. Oh, that's normal. By the time you reach this age, you'll feel this and this. And I disagree with that. And so many of us disagree with that because I don't believe that the body has to degrade that way. Right. It's just because we're not giving it what it needs. And the body has this incredible way of just this intuitive healing. And it just needs the ingredients. And as long as we supply the ingredients, it's going to do the magic for us.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Optimize Your Naʻau Podcast. I'm David Woodward, and this is Dara. And for today, we have a special guest on location at Hotel Wailea. Go ahead and introduce our guest, Dara.
So we have the honor and privilege, and we're so grateful that they're spending some time with us. The GM of Hotel Wailea, this is Markus Schale, and his beautiful wife, Candeur. And they're sitting with us today, and we're going to talk about our connection to biohacking and wellness and skincare and how we met and how we created this, to us, it's a very beautiful connection and relationship with them both. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And you folks are both very, very busy. And we have been trying to figure out how to do this and, just divine things have happened and it brought us back to Maui and we're able to sit here with these two people and we're so excited. So first of all, thank you they've hosted us at this beautiful property here on Maui in Wailea. And if you've never been here, it's really, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And we've never been to a hotel or anybody's home as beautiful as this, to be honest with you. And everything, that's what we love, is everything is so well thought out.
The details, for sure. Yeah.
Your stay is it's curated and customized, and just that's what we love. Why we love staying here and telling everybody about this property, So can you tell us a little bit? We'll go through the hotel side first, and then we'll kind of go into your wellness journeys. But how did you start here? How did this happen? How did you get to be GM of this beautiful property?
It's an interesting story because this property was not conceived as a hotel, and that's why property it is so special. We're on 16 acres of land with only 72 suites. We moved from the beach a little bit, and the idea was initially to create an oasis for Japanese travelers to visit Hawaii, play golf. And when the hotel was purchased in 2008, we slowly readjusted this property to become, hopefully, one of the most amazing places to stay in the islands because of its incredible sense of place. And the sense of place here is so strong because we're dealing with low density, very few guests on a large property that is very natural, everything is open air. And my journey with the hotel has been for over 16 years since the hotel was bought, and we repositioned it really to be designed for couples, which makes it so special. So we are the place where couples can reconnect, and diving right into our connection, I think we're capitalizing on positive energy, I think, throughout the experience. And although we're a hotel and we're a business, we realize that it is all about energy, how we make our guests feel. And this property, at least in my opinion, feel has a very, very special energy around it. Our guests feel relaxed when they're here. They connect with themselves and as a couple. And that has made this little hotel, from being a small hotel in Hawaii, the leading hotel in the state. We're rated the best hotel in the state by Travel + Leisure 2 years in a row. And I think are probably right now still the highest rated property within the Hawaiian Islands because of that. And it is the layout, but it is also our staff and the care we take of our team members here, which make it so different. So that is our 16-year journey into what Hotel Wailea is, from a Japanese country club to becoming a very, very special place for couples to connect and enjoy Maui.
Yeah, and that was exactly our experience when we first came here. And how you were saying about your staff, just from the moment you walk in, how people greet you, and everybody is just like, welcome home. It feels like, and that is it. Yeah, it feels so special.
And I agree with the whole, connection and reconnection. And when we came, and we were fortunate enough to stay here. And when we stayed over just for it's a couple nights, and it was just the way that we were able to have, this special space to reconnect, more than just on a personal level, but how we were able to kind of recognize how much more of the personal space and our business space, really, are together. And in order for us to move as a business and elevate ourselves as a family as well, it just made it real easy for us, in my opinion. And it was just a simple, stay at a Hotel Wailea that gave us that. The energy was totally what you said. Something as simple as like they asked us, what drinks would you like in your room? I was like, oh, you think about things. Like we really like our Pellegrino, and they had everything there, like the types of smoothies or even the juices that they had was like specially tailored towards what we wanted, and it was very special.
No, I think it's one of the foundations of our business is really hospitality, and it's something that is lost in a lot of large hotels, because it's not about hospitality necessarily. It's mostly a business, and for us, our staff here is hired and is trained on very basic principles, which have to do with empathy, connection, and kindness, and that's the only guidelines we give, really, and the only guidelines when we hire our staff. So hopefully it creates that feeling which he just described, and for us it's just a joy to have a hotel like this, and I do think it fits well into Maui, because Maui as an island has that type of energy as a visitor when you come here, so we feel we're well aligned with the island, which again not many hotels are, because they're just the opposite of most of the island. So we're very lucky to have this property.
Yeah, and you were talking about the energy, and you folks definitely have that energy, right? You exude that energy of health and wellness and care and empathy and compassion, and honestly, I feel like that's really what attracted us to you, and how we met you folks. So we met you folks through Young Goose, right? Young Goose Skincare.
Yes. Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out to Amitai and Anastasia.
Yeah.
And we know that you feature that as an amenity here, which someone like us appreciates that. When you come to a hotel, and you get to have your biohacking skincare, available to you, that's like the cherry on top. And the reason we would come back again and again and again, But going back to really you folks, such beautiful people, and just like I said, exude that warmth and that love, that aloha, and that wellness. And so, we're curious, what is, everything around here, it feels like it's tailored to wellness and well-being. What is your story behind that? What is your journey with wellness?
I think our personal journeys have definitely influenced the wellness aspects at Hotel Wailea, but I think it begins with the island itself. I mean, the natural energy in the island. We have all of what we call the biohacks here naturally, right? We have the ocean, all the elements from the ocean, the minerals, the sun, the red light therapy, everything happens, the grounding from first what Mother Nature is offering us here. And I feel because this hotel has such a strong sense of place and is so connected to Maui, that's the first, I think, the basis of the wellness here, and the basis of why people feel so good. You can travel from anywhere, and you're waking up, your circadian rhythm is completely shifted, and you're enjoying those beautiful mornings, and at night when you should be sleeping, you're asleep, and it really doesn't matter if you're coming from Europe or from the East Coast or California. So I think furthering that, our personal health journeys obviously has a huge influence. I mean, it's I don't know anyone nowadays who hasn't learned so much about their body and just health in general from whatever crisis that has happened because of the world, unfortunately, the toxic world we live in today, and just learning to heal or learning to thrive, and just applying those skills, and then it's become contagious, right? Everyone else sees, what are you doing? Because you look so good, you feel so good, you have so much energy. And so it's just sharing that. And I feel like that's what we want to do with our guests. That first happens with our employees, and we really, Marcus especially loves to, make sure all our employees are super healthy and happy and have access to knowledge, and also, healthy outings together, whether it's playing pickleball or doing something rather than going out drinking, for example. But then it's furthering that into our clients' stay, so offering things such as Young Goose, and we were so fortunate that you guys and Young Goose actually created a special personalized Hotel Wailea mask for the sun, which was amazing. But also it's also when you travel, you also want to feel good. So for me, that the first thing is food. And Hotel Wailea, we're designated as a hotel, as Aurelian Chateau, but separately as a restaurant, as Aurelian Chateau too. So there is a strong culinary aspect. And I feel that this concept of, if I'm ordering a banana smoothie, the concept of actually having a fresh banana, or a fresh lilikoi in that smoothie is so foreign nowadays. And we find it important that actually, yes, that is actually a banana that came from our own garden, and it is full of nutrition, and you're going to feel good while you're staying here, because the ingredients actually that you're enjoying taste delicious, but they also are wonderful for you. So Marcus actually had, for the restaurant, he hired a chef who particularly works on sourcing. So sourcing all of the ingredients throughout the islands, and even if it's not apparent directly when you're sitting at the table, yes, of course, you can make food look delicious in many ways, but when you actually energetically enjoy that food, the energy from food that's grown, locally and ethically and without pesticides is completely different for your body, and therefore you do feel better and you do thrive. And that translates in so many ways to how you can enjoy your stay and have energy to do that. So I don't know if you wanted to further.
I think, so firstly, people who live in Hawaii, we're either very, very knowledgeable and appreciative of the fact of what happens to us as baseline, like Kelly said. And then there's the other half who might just take it for granted. But Kelly and I, we wake up every day and we count ourselves amongst the luckiest people on the planet because we have fresh air, because we can ground naturally on the beach, and because we have sunlight most of the year. So we're not from here. It's a little easier for us, but we're very conscious. So we practice gratitude almost on a daily basis. And we strongly feel that our lifestyle is, in our opinion, for anybody almost, a lifestyle we would hope that can translate to a better self and to better health. And the way we live, we love our guests to experience as well. And that part of it is completely my wife, because I'm oblivious to any of it. I'm just lucky. Whereas Kelly knows that certain rhythms, circadian rhythms, are important to you. That having little things like in this room, we have blackout shades. That is by design, so you have a deep sleep. Because
we were just talking about that, actually.
Yes.
That's one of the things we appreciated. With staying here was something simple like blackout shades.
Yes.
No, and it's a simple thing of, I always felt visiting Hawaii, I slept well. And I do think our guests experience the same thing because there's no noise. The light, and with blackout shades together, and then again going to sleep early and waking up early, is enhancing their life. So we all have Aura rings now, and we all are measuring this, and there's more awareness. But just naturally, these things are something we not just mention to our guests, but we establish so they can have that feeling we have living here, which is, oh my God, I'm so excited at 5:30 a.m. to be alive.
Yes.
And I want to go to the beach. And if we can have the environment in our hotel set up in a way that is conducive to that, we're doing something hopefully good for everybody.
I feel like it's a very authentic way of experiencing the islands, and it's a very natural way, and one that we get lost a lot of times when you're staying in a big resort. You're surrounded by people screaming and walking around, noise pollution, I would say, and just like, these fake pools and these fake this, and it just, you might be in Hawaii, but you don't feel it. And so I exactly what Markus says, we do want to share what we get to experience too with our guests,
And then you overlay that with Kelly's passion for winemaking and her knowledge of nutrients and what to eat, when to eat it, and what to avoid, all the things which, again, I'm oblivious to, but I felt a difference by her managing me, basically, and enhancing not just what is naturally given, but also enhancing throughout that knowledge, again, my life. And so we will not bombard you in the morning with a cappuccino full of sugar in this hotel.
Right.
Because of what I know it does now. Similar, our minibar, for instance, here is not filled with Sprite and Coke, because we know what it does. Well, Kelly does and tells me. So same selecting now coffees that are organic in this hotel. I didn't really know this, but now that I do know this and we can do it as a business, we will do it, because again, it's the complete picture that really creates that wellness aspect, I think. And a lot of hotels have a menu in your room for wellness, for one treatment. And it's not that, it's a lifestyle, I think, and it's many components and it's all little things. But if we can provide this here at the hotel for our team members, for our guests, I think ultimately they will have that same feeling we have, hopefully, of a very healthy lifestyle and a very, very deep appreciation for all the little things that make our life better and lead to a healthier life.
And these are all very conscious integrations that we've had throughout, the years of improving one aspect at a time. And it is a huge cost to a hotel to do that, which is why most places that you would say actually cut, those are the corners that they cut, because it does cut into, I would say, as a business, your profit margin, right? And for some people who are not aware, they won't notice it. But for those who are, it is a huge improvement for them. I know when I travel with my own coffee. I travel with my own snacks, And I think Dave Asprey got us all on that, how you can cook your eggs in a tea kettle,
Oh, yeah.
But it's nice when you don't have to do that. When I go to a restaurant and I have 2 items I can pick from, a selection of items, I'm very excited, because often it's, let me try to put one together that I can somehow feel good about.
Right.
And it's not only feeling good for myself and for us as a family or for our guests, it's also better for nature. So for example, if we're offering a grass-fed beef, it's, you ate what you ate. And if that goes energetically and is nutritionally and all of the above, it's better for the cow. It's a happy cow. It's had a wonderful life. It's better for the environment. That cow is supposed to be stomping on the ground and, fertilizing the ground, and the microbiome in the soil will benefit. And then, obviously we directly benefit from that, but then we directly benefit from the cow being healthy. And, there's not all the hormones injected in the animal, and we're not absorbing that. And so it's full circle. It's full circle. And I feel that if we can be, a hotel who represents, moving forward in that direction, and others hopefully will follow, or others are already on that path, I think that's the way to change the world, is to, you do what you can control. And if everybody does that, then everyone moves forward. So I think that's a big one for us.
Yeah. No, I'm totally on this. We're totally on the same page with you on this, and I feel like what I'm hearing, especially with the model of how you folks, are starting with your employees, right? You start with you folks and your employees, and what you guys exemplify and share with your guests, right? We do the same thing with our business as well, but it's the smaller businesses. We start small, right? And we create this awareness, one person at a time, one business at a time, and I feel like it does become the most impactful as as a guest, as a consumer, as for a restaurant, in other words, too. But also as an entrepreneur, like we totally appreciate the detail. Like we love to curate things for our clients as well, just as much as you folks do.
So much.
And as I'm mentioning, like it really kind of brings out how important that part is with starting. We start we show the examples in these smaller, more subtle ways that will impact the world, as you were mentioning, Kat.
Yes,
Like,
it does.
Yeah, and we're creating a community.
Yes, absolutely.
Going back to what you said, like it's not easy to create a hotel like this, right? With all the little details and just like, how we opened our business. I mean, to a lot of people it didn't make sense, right? Aesthetics and physical therapy. And now it makes sense, but it's because we had an intention, right? Just how
You folks.
you folks have a very meaningful intention, right? For you folks first, and then creating this, sharing this with the community, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. We've been through trauma, we've had our own journey into wellness, and we just don't want to go back there anymore. And there's
There's no
so many
turning back.
people
Yeah.
that we meet that it's like, oh my god, it can be so much better. Like,
Yes, yes.
how you feel, how you look, because of what you expose yourself to, what you put in your body.
And it does turn into something that's in the beginning very challenging and very negative, a challenge, a health challenge or a trauma. And turning that around and empowering yourself with knowledge and turning this into a passion and then just sharing that, it's turning that into something beautiful from something that originated as, such a challenge.
Well, that's an interesting part as well. It's what we spoke about are all the little levers you can pull in wellness, right? And they're all small adjustments that amount to a lot. But one of the biggest adjustments I think everybody is aware of is drinking alcohol. And so for me, I've been in this industry for 20 years. It is everywhere, and it's we have incredible alcohol. We have the biggest wine cellar in the States, so this is really the best of the best. But I did find by making conscious decision just to try not to drink, not because of any particular reason, just to see the difference in how that lever affects my life, made a huge impact. So I'm never going to tell any of our guests not to drink, because our business is actually to enjoy the wine. But we are and have established a large list of mocktails, and we have alcohol-free beers. And so that group of emerging, very sophisticated travelers that comes to a place who made the choice not to drink will find lots of choices here, and they're really appreciative, because a lot of hotels and restaurants now still don't have the choice. So you have a glass of water or you have a beer, but nothing in between.
Right.
Again, small adjustment, but it really resonates with our guests. We have a lot of our guests now who are requesting that. The same with the grass-fed beef, by the way, where just there is in the world there is an emerging need for that, and it's not the majority for sure, but
Not
there
yet.
are not yet. But there is definitely, I think, an increase in all of that. So naturally, we're trying to be ahead a little bit of the game and the curve, because I do think it will become more and more what everybody will start doing, hopefully.
Yes, the awareness is definitely building, and it is things also behind the scenes. I know a lot of people become aware of seed oils, for example, and that's something that when you go in a restaurant, you don't know what they cooked it in. You can just assume it's going to be, highly oxidated seed oil.
Exactly.
And that's something we've worked with our chefs. And okay, what can we do to better this so that even if again, you don't necessarily need to know it's there, but when you are enjoying your food, you do feel better. You're not in that state of inflammation, and it does also make, we're making a mark and saying although it is the majority of restaurants who are doing this, it is not the only way. So I think, it's all those little baby steps, and that's all these small baby steps are moving us forward in a very positive direction. I hope that will become the norm eventually. But we also are working on a project that might be a little bit more for the early adopters. So, it's the way I see it is you have all your early adopters, and I think we would kind of fall into that, where we like to try all the new gadgets and stay on top of all the new research. And then you have this chasm, and you have, everyone else like, oh, maybe I'm interested, but we'll wait till it just becomes, a little bit more, available or whichever. So we are working on building one of our longevity suites, and this is something that we actually spoke with Anastasia and and Amatai when they were here. So another shout out to them. But it is we want to create this really cool space that is comfortable for someone who is an early adopter, but also is exploratory for someone who might not have crossed that chasm yet. So, including, your temperature controlled mattress. The black sheets are already there, but, you have special supplements. You might find spermidine, you might find, so this is something that we want to incorporate all the little gadgets here and there so that you do feel like it's kind of this biohacking suite. But then it's if I'm traveling and I'm aware of this, I might book that suite because I'm going to feel extra good during traveling, especially after getting on an airplane, because that is probably one of the most difficult things to deal with is air travel and time zones. And then for someone who's just wants to explore and might not have access or hasn't, walked into a biohacking, lab, they can on their own time at their leisure be like, oh, what is this? What does this gadget do? And how does this make me feel? Like it's something fun to play with. So
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome, right? If you could be like, call the front desk, like, oh, can I have, that portable red light sauna
Yes.
put into my shower this afternoon?
yes,
Right?
absolutely.
And certain standards, again, that the water going into your coffee maker with the organic coffee is actually filtered.
Yes.
Again, one thing that Kelly pointed out to me, which I had no idea, is that I should actually put different water in my coffee and actually taste better as well.
For sure.
Yes.
And there are guests who are very knowledgeable of that. We have seen studies that in LA, for instance, the real estate market is heavily now invested into biohacking. And when I say biohacking, it means adding cold plunges, infrared saunas. And there is demand hugely in that market, which is our main market of visitors. So our guests are already somewhat pre-programmed probably to recognize some of it, and then they might have some new things in the suite which they have not heard or wanted to try or are exploring to try. So I think it's fun, number one. Number two, hopefully great for the industry because some companies might find new clients.
Right.
And then three, hopefully it has an effect on the guests where they wake up after 3 days and go, oh my God, I feel so much better after being in the suite for 3 days that I'm going to adapt some of that at home. And so we're very excited about the project and Kelly spearheading all of it, putting together all the little details. Because as you said, it's in the detail.
It is.
It's all the little things, and we're excited to launch it hopefully this year.
Oh, so awesome. And I know, before we had a conversation about, the perspective of luxury, how it's moving towards, not getting another Porsche or another
Right.
car, but figuring out how investing in your longevity, right?
Yes.
Quality of life, right?
Yeah.
And so you see these companies like Four Seasons, right, trying to create these experiences now also, which, to me, nothing touches, what you folks have created here. I mean, it really is. And, how you're talking about the energy of the place. Yes, the island does have a certain energy, but you folks have a gift of just being able to bring that to, the energy from you folks into your beautiful property and into everybody that walks onto this property. Be it your employees, the guests, everyone, really. And so, if you don't mind us asking, what was your journey? Like, how did you get to biohacking? I mean, did you grow up, in an environment where, everything was, the air was clean and the water was clean and you had all this education on what things do to your body, or was it over time?
Maybe I start because my journey is much shorter than yours.
You met
Much easier.
and you're on the journey.
Well, that kind of what described it. That was the summary of really beautiful. No, I think the journey for me is very short. I grew up in Europe, so I would say two things about growing up in Europe. The downside is you grow up in a highly toxic environment by default because it's so small. And I'm still in a generation where my father would smoke in the car and not roll down the windows. So that's my baseline. Now, that's the downside. But the upside is I'm thankfully so incredibly lucky that I have a very, very strong system as a human, apparently, that can withhold. So I never had to deal with any of the effects of it, really. But I never knew what feeling well meant until I started living here, because suddenly all the toxicity was gone and I felt better. And then I met my wife, and that's really when it started, to your point, who then started making me aware of, well, these things you should really look into. And I can tell you that I feel now, after being together with my wife for almost 10 years, I've obviously aged chronological by 10 years, but I feel younger than when I met her, and I feel physically in better shape than before I met her, so technically 10 years before my time. So I believe in what Dave Asprey and everybody else agrees on. It's not about chronological age anymore, it's about biological age. And everything that Kelly does for me, which she does in a very, how would I say it, forceful way, where is no optional, you will have to do it, which is the only way to deal with me. So having gone through that journey, I think would describe the end result as something that I appreciate and I deeply recognize on a daily basis what a difference it has made. So it was not natural, and it was not based, in my case, on my body asking for it openly. It was really an enhancement, which I do acknowledge is immense. So
I think for Marcus, because a lot of people, if they're not broken, there's no reason to fix it, right? And the way I see it, and I'll share my journey in a second, but for Marcus, it was, although his knees were hurting when he got up, or although, so many people blame this on aging. Oh, that's normal. By the time you reach this age, you'll feel this and this. And I disagree with that. And so many of us disagree with that, because I don't believe that the body has to degrade that way. Right. It's just because we're not giving it what it needs. And the body has this incredible way of just this intuitive healing, and it just needs the ingredients. And as long as we supply the ingredients, it's going to do the magic for us. So, so for me, it's compensating for the glyphosate that's being sprayed around us. It's the air that, we're very lucky here, but the air or just the beating that we, the stress that we give ourselves every day. So, yes, I think it's aging backwards, or it's biologically backwards, or just aging gracefully and in a way that you can just be active and do the things you want to do for a long time. For me, it was, I grew up it's a mixture of California, Arizona, Brussels, and I was very fortunate that my parents were very aware of health as early as you could really be. But it wasn't, we still had the Rice Krispies and the Cocoa Puffs, and, we were raised, I would say, because that was what people considered food. And the information wasn't available as it is now. Now you can go online and find all kinds of things, and it's almost overwhelming, but at least it's out there and you can sift through it and make sense of it and read. But I remember when my parents was just a whole wheat pasta, and we just rebelled, oh my gosh, this tastes horrible, and this was, nutritious and healthy, and little did we know we were a celiac family, and none of us really knew that, and it's, it's genetic, and so, sure. Of course, when you're not paying attention to that, it kind of throws you in a downward spiral. So for me, it was a mixture of things. It was not knowing that, being a celiac, being highly inflamed, Lyme disease. It was colon issues. It was endometriosis. It just seemed, honestly, that it was one thing after another. And to me, the way I explain it is a domino effect, Sure. It's just one thing affects another. And for me, by the time I was 22 at the time, I had complete hormonal dysregulation. I was perimenopause. And so it's just finding out, okay, what is the root cause? And sometimes it's really hard to find that root cause when it feels like everything's going wrong. So you go through the traditional, medical route, you get told, you have this, and none of it sits right with you, and no one's really there to help you, and it's a very lonely journey. So then it's educating yourself. Say, okay, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I had support from Marcus, I had support from my direct family, but you still have to drive the boat. Mm-hmm. And so it's reading every book I can get my hands on. It's learning about every biohack I can get my body back into balance, because ultimately that's what it is. It's out of balance. Sure. And I don't know what it needs. It's asking me for something. So obviously moving here was really great. That's not why I moved here. Actually, I became quite sick after I had moved here, and that my discovery started, my journey started probably of learning and getting involved with my health probably good over 10 years ago now. But I feel, again, what we were saying earlier is turning something negative into something positive. I feel that I would never be, if I hadn't experienced these, really difficult times, dark times in health, I wouldn't have had the push forward to, you need to learn about this, you need to become aware of this. And I don't think I would be the same person that I am now, because it has become a really big part of me. So it's been, now it's fun because it's addicting. Like we're saying, you finally feel good and you're like, I don't ever want to lose that feeling again. And I want to share it with everybody. So it's, getting into peptides and it's getting into, the infrared and all of these things. So, and then the community actually realized it's a very rich community, and we've met incredible people such as yourselves through this community. It's just, and we get to share these, all of our stories, but then also we have this common connection because we've all been through something that's brought us here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and like you were saying, I mean, we met finally in person. We heard so much about you folks through Amita and Anastasia at Young Goose, and then we were at the biohacking conference one day, and we just happened to be sitting, adjacent to you folks, and
not coincidence at all.
Right?
And then we met each other, and it was like this divine connection, right? And how you were saying, it's like, oh my God, our people.
Yes.
And that's what it felt like when we met you folks.
Yeah.
And well, so thank you for sharing that beautiful story. I mean, for us, it was, we weren't really paying attention to ourselves. It was when we had children, right? Our son came out with eczema, and then we started to get onto the biohacking, our biohacking journey started when he started listening to Dave Asprey's podcast and, reading his blogs and things. So, yeah, but thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Of course.
I want to say also, in addition to what you folks were also sharing, I noticed that a lot of, kind of the center of what our podcast is about sanative healing, right?
Yeah.
And, sanative or sanative, right? In the sense of healing through connection, right? And the healing through connection can be through interactions with people, be an interaction with, how you tune in and connect with your environment, like you folks are mentioning, right? The air you're breathing, the ground that you're under. But what's interesting too is that we love to connect with individuals that heal through their journey, that have that sanative connection with the experience, whether it be traumatic or, something that was very impactful that kind of shifted how they functioned as human beings, and then also, giving it as a service, in regards to a business. And I feel like that's where we find a lot of similarities in this conversation. And this is one of our favorite things to cover and discover, right? Is this what does sanative connection look like? But
Thank you for having us. Anyone who hasn't been to your center, I mean, it's just the warmth and the embrace that you, from the moment you walk in. And then I had the luxury of having Dara give me a facial, which was actually my first facial.
I know.
And I feel like I can never go anywhere now because it was so magical. It was transformative. It really was. And you don't think that's possible through, you think facial, okay, products on my face. But it's so much more than that. It was the energy that you shared. It was the warmth and the love that you shared. And it was also, I mean, I hate to say it, but I felt really beautiful coming out.
It was beautiful.
It wasn't hard to do for you. And we feel the same way too. It's, being able, just making us aware of when we travel, actually we have choices.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
And to seek those out. Maybe it's going to take a little bit more effort right now, but with you folks really just creating, a new standard, really.
It is, I
in this
hope.
industry.
Yeah.
And, and being here really helped us to want to elevate, our standards too for our business and our industry.
One of the things that we like to ask our guests too is kind of a popular question. That's literally part of the title, or this is the title of our podcast, right? And how would you, or what do you folks do to optimize your naʻau, right? So naʻau meaning like, what we look at as your naʻau, right? Is where our source of life really begins and starts, and it's something that feels right as well, right? Like in the Hawaiian language, like everything has many meanings to it, right? And I know we covered so many different things with your folks' journeys, respectively. But what is it specifically that you folks do to optimize your naʻau?
For me, I think it's two things, really. It's something one of them I've had to work on a lot is being present. And I think we get so caught up in life and, what am I doing in 5 minutes? What am I doing tomorrow? And whichever. We have so many things on our minds at all times that it is centering and it is being present. Because that's how we keep the connection with those that are around us. And when you're not, you forget that is actually the reason we're doing all this. So that's definitely one. And Markus has definitely helped me as a person do that, because I'm a person who tends to live more in the future. So I'm very grateful to have a partner who does that for me. And the other one for me is something that's very strong naturally is my intuition, but it's not turning away from that, because we're taught, I hate to say it, but we're taught not to listen to it, second guess ourselves. And that is where actually ultimately confidence comes from, but then also the right decisions and our, if you want to call it destiny or your path or wherever your passion leads you, that's where it's coming from. And you do have to be true to it and listen to it. And the more you listen to that intuition, the stronger it becomes. And then it's not like a tap, tap, it's a, hey, like kick in the shoulder, So those are two things. And still, even those are strong aspects that I remind myself, I do have to remind myself, because we're human and the brain does take over. So yeah, I think that's the big ones for me.
Yeah, you have good intuition. There's no question about it. It's natural for Kelly, but I think, the first one is being present, I think for sure. And that's one thing I ask our team as well. It's just one of the prerequisites when you are here, please be present. Because when you're not present, how do you connect with anybody? Because you're not there. So being personally present for sure for myself is important. I think for our team it's important. And emphasizing that, because as we know, that's a whole separate podcast of the effects of the environment of social media and all of that, and especially with children. And so that's number one. And certainly gratitude, as I mentioned before, for me helps me to ground myself in the moment, in the now, and appreciating where we are. And then lastly, I'm going to say one thing I do appreciate, which might have to do that we live on a small island with a smaller population, but really being present and appreciating other humans.
Connection.
Meaning looking for the connection, and even if it's maybe negative, finding gratitude in the connection and actually trying to really engage with a person and seeing it as a gift versus just as somebody passing and somebody bumping into you and being in your way. And a lot of that, I think, has to do, again, when you create a business, is when you look at your team members, to have gratitude for them, but also seeing them for who they are and actually making a connection with them versus just looking at trying to work here. And for me, that makes a big difference, because I actually find joy in it. And I find joy and energy in that driving me to do what I do. So that is for me the now, and finding that on a daily basis has been very, very good for myself, actually. So I find what I do joyful, and therefore the now is pleasant for me. And I like to do it tomorrow again and tomorrow again. It keeps the drive alive. So.
Oh my gosh, you folks, that was beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you
much for sharing.
It resonates.
Yes. Sharing your love and your energy, through our podcast with the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, this is Markus Schale, and Kelly Candeur from Hotel Wailea, and you can check them out online, hotelwailea.com. Beautiful, highly, highly recommend. Even if you want to just come and eat at their beautiful restaurant with beautiful, healthy, energetic food, you know, please come and visit. But again, thank you.
Thank you for having us. It was such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
And aloha.
Aloha.
Hello.